What you see here is Skylar and I doing some slap sparring or palm sparring, whatever you want to call it. It is a great way to train and play and have fun and maintain skill and timing and work on trapping hands and things like this. It is not boxing, I know. It looks sloppy. It is sloppy in a lot of ways, but that doesn't take away from its value. This is a great way to train because when we train this way, first of all, as an old geezer, I'm not taking heavy impacts. However, I'm still taking impacts and defending against strikes and learning defense but hardwiring defense. And as we get more and more into it, we become more and more intense, still keeping safety in mind. Now, when we hit the body, generally we close the fist. When we hit the head, the palm is open. This could evolve into actually punching to the face as well in a controlled way. This is something Skylar and I have agreed that eventually we're going to experiment with and work on getting into light fisticuffs in our training. But to the body we go a little harder. Not full, but still a little harder. And controlling limbs is very important, especially if you're training for defending against weapons. Being able to control someone's limbs, to trap, to press, to catch, to pull, all of these things are really important in self-defense, especially when dealing with, say, a knife or something. This is a good training drill to help develop that kind of skill. And you can see we're using different strikes like knees, and we will even experiment with some elbows as well. As far as kicking goes, I tend to stick to more oblique kicks and thrust kicks, and most of my attacks are hand attacks because I hate lifting my leg if I'm training to fight in a non-sporting environment. This type of training does take a lot of criticism, and some of it is warranted. This is a very limited way of training for sure, but it does allow you to try other things than just typical boxing strikes. It allows you to use hammer fists and things like palm strikes, getting the hands on the face and knowing where you would be gouging and tearing at the eyes. There, I put my hands on his throat, and we get to do things that we wouldn't normally do in a boxing match. But whenever I train with partners who will allow me to do that, because that is what I train for. I train to try and keep up on my self-defense skills rather than just sport fighting, although I teach sport fighting. I'm a little too old for that. I'll leave that for the tough young people, young men and women. They can do that stuff. I can't anymore, but I can do this. I can do this many times a week. I can do this with a lot of different people. And, I can even do this with young people who are skilled at Thai boxing and still give them enough of a challenge where I'm helping their skill sets. I'm helping them develop skills. And you can see a lot of this is clinch work, right? And the clinch is very important in actual violence. I think the latest studies completely contradict the old proverbial wisdom that 90% of street fights go to the ground. I believe what the latest studies show is 60% of self-defense situations where you're fighting involve clinch. Clinch work is your most important thing to work on. And this is exactly what we're working on. Lots and lots of clinch. I actually really love training the clinch. I think it's a lot of fun. And when you're doing it like this, where you're, striking, slapping, kneeing, I'm even practicing some controlled headbutting movements towards Skylar, but not making contact. And you'll see that I'm working for other things. Like right there, I pretended to draw a blade and stab him in the kidneys and lungs multiple times. So we're not just training empty hands here. We're doing a lot more. We're just using this as a framework from which to train, from which to try and apply different things and experiment. There we're even using hammer fists. I mean, that's a lot of fun to be able to apply hammer fists and ridge hands and things that you just would never get to do if you're just boxing. Don't get me wrong, I love boxing, I love Muay Thai, and I know that having a basic boxing base is so important if you are interested in self-defense. You need it. But this is different, and it combines that, even though it looks so ugly. It looks so ponderous. But that's what happens when you get older. You get flat-footed. You are apt to use less agility and speed and getting in and out of range, and more likely to try and control the situation in close. At least that's what I've been finding in my training at my age. So there I grabbed his leg, but I let it go. It's dirty when you're fighting light and you're going slow to grab somebody's leg and dump them unless you've agreed to it first. So I grab it to practice that grab, but I let it go and move on to something else. So now you see how he's binding up my limbs and stopping me from doing that, pulling on my back of my head and manipulating my balance, manipulating position. Skylar likes to try and shoot to the side. I like to try and use my head as a frame to keep him from moving one way, and also it protects my head from the opposite side hand, right? So if my head is on his left side, it protects me a bit from his right hand. These are all tactics and tricks that you learn and gain from just playing with your friends, from playing with partners that you trust and can really experiment with. Even though I'm likely to get a lot of hate comments or some negative comments on this type of training, I'm gonna post more of it, and I'll try and find maybe some more aggressive examples and show that. But believe me, this is a great drill for developing your skills with your empty hands. I hope you enjoyed this.